So today we're going to talk about digital painting in Photoshop, and this has been a pretty highly requested thing for me to make a tutorial about. Basically, I'm going to go over the basics of blending in Photoshop using brushes similar to you maybe would traditionally with actual paint, colors, that sort of thing. So here we go. Let's talk about brushes first, because those are really important. So the most important thing for blending is the transfer option. So in this brush menu, we've got shape dynamics, scattering, texture, all that stuff, and halfway down is transfer. And you want that set on pen pressure, and what that means is that the lighter I push on the tablet, the lighter the color, and the darker I push, the darker it gets. So I'll just make the brush a bit bigger so you can see that a little bit better. And then the other thing I've turned on this brush, which by the way, the brushes I'm going to be using today are Ahmed Aldori's brushes, and I'll link those in the description if you feel like downloading those. Shape dynamics on this one has angle jitter on pen tilt, which means that the angle of the pen will turn depending on how I tilt the pen. This is not really essential to blending. The only essential thing pretty much is that you've got transfer turned on. You could also choose to have the size jitter on pen pressure, which means that the lighter you push on the pen, the skinnier the stroke. Again, this isn't essential, but you might decide that you work the best with that kind of pen. So just experiment a little bit with the menu, but make sure you do have transfer turned on. Basically, I would recommend doing a few value studies before you get onto more complicated objects. So we'll start, for example, with a black square, and then we want to blend all the way to white. So maybe we'll have a mid-tone background and have white on this side. We want to make that brush size reasonably big. And then we're going to color pick this black and drag it across. And we'll do the same thing with the white and drag that across. So we've sort of already got a gradient going. Then we want to color pick the middle grey color here. And the way to do that is you can program a shortcut on your tablet, or you can use the option Alt button. So then you color pick that and you can blend in the middle. And then you blend in between the mid-tone and the dark, and then the light in the middle, and just keep going till that's as smooth or as rough as you like. It's all down to personal preference. I kind of like still seeing the brush strokes a little bit, but it's up to you. So there's your basic grayscale, and now we might try doing one that's from one saturated color to another saturated color. So let's go from maybe a blue, and we'll blend that to a red. So we'll do the same thing, drag that color across, and then drag this color back until we've got a little bit of this mid-tone to work with, and then blend those together. So now we might try it with a slightly less saturated color, because it gets harder to blend those because the colors tend to get a little bit muddy. So let's talk about that. We'll choose maybe more like that, and then let's blend that to this sort of turquoise color on this side. So we'll do the same thing. Let's see what happens. We'll drag this orange across, and then this blue. And you can see that the color we get in the middle is not that great. So what we want to do is take that color and sort of enhance it a little bit. So we'll place that in the middle, and that'll give us something a little bit better to blend to. So there we go, those are a few gradients to practice with. And the next thing is to try and apply this to an actual object or a character or a background or whatever you're trying to paint. Let's try it with the example of a face, because faces, you know, they're pretty complicated, but it's what I draw most, so it'd be easiest for me to explain. So I've just done this character, and let's see what it would be like to shade her in grayscale. So we've already got the mid-tone background, and what I'm going to do is maybe just select a few shadows. So if we have typical lighting and it's coming from above, the shadows would be where her eye sockets are, under the nose, under the neck, and just the jaw. and I'm thinking her hair will be black, so I'm going to shade that as well. So there's the sort of basic thing, and then above the sketch layer I'm going to take that same sort of mid-tone, maybe even a little bit darker, and I'm going to just put a sort of wash over it to give us a bit of a base. With painting, it's easier to work from dark to light than from light to dark. So now we'll take that mid-tone, which is now lighter than her skin tone, and start putting in some of the highlights. So we'll start with under the eyes, where the light will be touching her cheekbones, and there would be on the nose, there would be a highlight. And remember to keep colour picking this whole time. Okay, so let's say that that's blended enough. I could go on forever just sort of perfecting things, but sometimes it is nice to sort of keep it as simple as possible. Now I might decide I want the contrast to be a lot more intense, so I can take the lightest colour that I have and then push it right up to almost white, and then go back in with highlights that way. And these brush strokes you can keep quite visible as well. So you could end up with something like that. So now we can start talking about colour. It's easier to work in black and white because then you can just think about the tone and not worry about whether the colours are blending properly. So let's have a go at that. Let's say I want her skin tone to be quite warm. So let's say for some interest I want to have a sort of cool light coming from behind her. So I've got this layer, and I've got on normal, it's this quite dark bluey purple colour, but then once I put it on, I think I had it on screen, it gives off more of a light. Then I usually go to the sketch layer and I make the opacity locked, which is down here underneath what the layer type is. There's this little icon, and you click that, and then you can change the color of the lines. So I'll usually pick something quite warm colored to just a darker version of the skin tone, basically, like that. And then we make a layer on top of that so that we can start blending. And same as last time, I'm going to put a sort of a wash of mid-tone, something like that, and then I will start doing the same thing as we did with the grayscale and sort of blend these colours and bring them to make sense with where the planes of the face are. So there you go, there are the two faces side by side. You can see how different the shading looks with different lighting and different colours and stuff. So there are a lot of options and a lot of fun to be had. I really hope that this tutorial helps someone. I have this paranoia that I left something really important out or that I didn't make sense the whole time. So if I did do that, let me know in the comments and I'll try to explain myself the best I can. Or if you have any requests for any tutorials about anything else that I might have mentioned here but not in depth, like for instance talking more about brushes or talking more about colour, I do have a colour tutorial on my Tumblr page that's all about colour theory and how colours work together, and a bunch of other tutorials and advice posts and stuff like that on there, so check that out as well. Cool, okay, I hope everyone had a good day and had fun watching this video and that it helped at least one person out there. Thanks for watching!